Skyrim. We all know it. I mean, my god, Toddy Boy over here won't let us forget it with the numerous releases on several major platforms. However, my first experience with the game was back in 2012 on the PS3. I played it a few times and I hated it so much to the point where I never finished it. Hey guys, Matt here, and after constantly being told multiple times by various people to give the game another shot, I recently caved and did just that. I bought the special edition on Steam in order to beat the game and figure out if I was too harsh on Skyrim over the years. And yes, I know there's hundreds upon thousands of mods, which I will touch on later, but for now, we're talking straight vanilla Skyrim. So, grab your swords, become the Dragonborn, and let's get into this. Oh my god, I can't get this in the sheath.
Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Okay, one thing I failed to appreciate, let alone properly criticize as a kid, was the game's map. Skyrim's map is filled with diverse locations that tell their own stories through environmental details. Ruins, dungeons, and abandoned structures often hint at the history and lore of the world, encouraging exploration and discovery to find out more. I love stumbling around places only to wind up finding lore books or a goofy Easter egg. By the way, my favorite Easter egg is probably Kolben the Dragon, which is a little reference to old choose-your-own-adventure games. The map also features a variety of biome-specific wildlife, and when you tack on the dynamic weather as well as the random encounters, you get a sprawling world that feels like it's been around far before you stepped foot in it. That being said, there's still a good amount of jank to be found in Skyrim's open world. You see, the map is like a diorama. You can look at it, but once you start to touch things, it feels as though you might break something, especially when you stray from the roads and pathways. Skyrim's fresh breath of exploration came with the baggage of gliding around and jumping up mountains that are supposed to be explored despite it feeling as though you can't. This doesn't look natural. A lot of this stuff used to bug me when I was younger, and I was a bit hypocritical too, since I only seemed to be upset when it was in a single player game. But when I got to about 8th grade or so, I started to relax a bit more and appreciate the humor of it all like I would with co-op or multiplayer games. The jank is definitely not a deal breaker for me personally, but it shows me that Bethesda spent more time on the world than how to traverse it, instead of finding a good balance between a great open world and fun traversal.
They're reforming the Dawn Guard.
There's over 340 quests in the special edition of Skyrim, and there's a lot of fun to be had in many of them. So many of Skyrim's side quests are filled with creativity and interesting stories, like Blood on the Ice, which is one great big murder mystery with you as the detective, hunting down leads and finding evidence. It's just so thrilling, and I wish there were more quests like it in Skyrim. Laid to Rest was just straight up depressing in the best way possible, and then there's A Night to Remember. One of the most hilarious side quests and easily one of my favorites. Basically, one night you sit down with this stranger named Sam who challenges you to a drinking contest. You black out and wake up in a completely different location with the goal of retracing your steps in order to find Sam and piece together what exactly happened that night. It's hilarious. Unfortunately, not all quests brought me as much joy as those three. Instead, for every night to remember, there was a return to your roots, or a shitty stone, which is still in my inventory to this day. However, I gotta say, the one thing that left me feeling the most disappointed was the main quest line. I'm sorry, but the main questline was straight up bad. It's just not good when compared to all the other things this game has to offer. Dude, the sense of urgency to save the world is lost the second you stray away from the main quest to do other things. The pacing was uneven, with long stretches of exploration interrupted by brief moments of story progression, and the characters weren't all that captivating. You know, it definitely makes sense that as a kid, I thought Skyrim's quests as a whole were not great, considering that the main quest line kinda sucked. And back then, I thought that main story stuff was the cream of the crop when it came to everything a single player game had to offer. Little did I know that was only 17 out of 340 quests in the game. Now I know there's just so much good content in the side quests. Not only that, but the DLC quest lines are, oh, chef's kiss. I love them. They improve upon practically all of my issues with the base game's main story. I loved almost everything in the Dragonborn DLC. Well, except for that part near the end when you take control of a dragon. That was ass. Ultimately, the highs from the quests I enjoyed outweighed the lows from my least favorite quests, and while I was disappointed with the main story, the DLC quest lines, along with many of the charming side quests, more than make up for it. Come on, you know it sucks. Hell, I knew it sucked when I was 12. The combat has about as much impact as a feather hitting the ground. It's just so unsatisfying and outdated for even 2011 standards. See, you could play as a swordsman, cutting down enemies and guzzling stamina potions, or use magic to whittle away at your foe's health while also drinking several magic potions like it's happy hour at Applebee's. But then you'd be playing the game wrong. Allow me to introduce you to Stealth Archer. That's right, this baby doesn't require the guzzling of any potions, and the level of satisfaction you get from performing a one-shot kill undetected is unrivaled by magic or melee. Pretty snazzy, huh? Why did I just go into a car salesman pitch? It's crazy how much Skyrim incentivizes players to go for a stealth archer build, especially new players. It's one of the first builds you're introduced to at the start of the game, provides a starting combat advantage, and it's one of the easiest builds to progress in. Basically, Bethesda created a nasty habit that's easy to fall into, which on its own isn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, plenty of games have some sort of meta build. However, it's made worse by just how lackluster and mechanically similar the other options are to one another. Skyrim also suffers from something I call the Destiny 2 effect, where the only difficulty that comes from each encounter is either the number of enemies thrown your way or how chonky their health bar is. I swear, some of these bosses' health bars, they're on par with just how bad some of the ones I encountered in Destiny 2 were. They just take forever to cut down. Basically, we have a lack of real combat options and poor difficulty design, which are the main reasons for why I think Skyrim's combat is just plain awful.
We sure showed them, eh?
Skyrim has plenty of gorgeous locations scattered throughout the world, like Black Reach, Ancestor Glade, Markarth, and even the Rift Woodlands. However, there's a lot of things that make this game look real crusty compared to other titles released around the same time. Animations are really stiff, lacking any semblance of fluidity, and hair as well as fur look either clumpy or flat in the most unnatural ways. Ain't no way. I was recently informed that Bethesda didn't even make foot models for the characters. Instead, they just plastered an image of a foot onto the pre-existing shoe model. What is this? Guys, allow me to be frank. I only talked about the visuals because I thought the foot thing was funny. I mean, Skyrim's an old game. Let's be real. It's obviously not gonna look the prettiest. Sure, there are areas that look worse than other games released around the same time, but it doesn't really ruin the experience at all, and there's still spots that look gorgeous. So instead of continuing on with the visuals, let's talk about how it runs. After several hours of playing Special Edition, it became abundantly clear that most of my issues from a technical standpoint were all this little shit's fault. Oh boy, the freezing, the frame rate drops, the painfully long loading screens were just some of the issues I and many others encountered with the PS3 port. Man, I remember one time my brother told me that he couldn't finish one of the DLCs because as soon as he got to a certain point in it, the game would just freeze and it wouldn't let him continue. I can only speculate this was due to both Bethesda's not so polished track record and the cell architecture Sony decided to use for the PS3. Thankfully, I only had to worry about one of those things jumping in on PC. And well, hot damn, everything seems to be running perfectly. No noticeable frame drops, no crashing, and loading screens are so fast, I can't even finish reading the little messages before being thrown back into the game. Am I misremembering something? Is this just like one step to getting that shout, or is something bugged here? Because that's really weird. He doesn't even speak. It's like a douche noise. What? Ah, you were this close, Skyrim. This close. So yeah, Special Edition does this quirky little thing sometimes where if you download it to anything other than your C drive, the game just doesn't play certain audio files, I guess? Now, this isn't a big deal. All you gotta do is uninstall the game, then reinstall it on your C drive, so why am I even bringing it up? Well, not only did it take me an idiotic amount of time to find this solution, it also took me longer than I'm proud to admit to even notice that most of my melee noises were missing. But yeah, other than the missing audio situation, I didn't experience anything as outlandish as the stuff on PS3. Just the typical Bethesda jank that comes with playing any of their games.
The Legion's always looking for strong, capable warriors.
Mods are probably the biggest reason why you'll still find a ton of people playing Skyrim to this day. Not only do mods increase the overall replay value of this game, but it fixes many of the issues that I and many others have had with it, such as the piss poor combat, poor UI, and overall jank that you'll experience in a single playthrough of the game. And yeah, when I was done playing vanilla, I took full advantage of this, downloading combat enhancement mods, high-res texture packs, custom storylines, and this beautiful, nay, gorgeous mod that allows you to jump while sprinting. Yes! The mods are just fantastic, and it was incredibly hard to resist the urge to download mods during my first vanilla run, especially knowing that I was just a few clicks away from a Dark Souls combat mod. By the way, that mod is really good, and I highly recommend checking it out. Same goes for the alternate start mod if you want to avoid replaying the start and want something a little different. In fact, here's a list of all the major mods I used, so if you want to give them a shot, go for it. And why not leave some mod suggestions in the comments? I'd be more than happy to check some of them out. All that being said, there's still a downside, and that's that you need to have the patience of a freaking saint to get mods up and running on this game.
I don't have any mods, because the thing is, what I do with like Skyrim and stuff, I don't know if anyone else does this. I always do the thing where I will spend a whole day installing mods, making sure they're compatible, looking up YouTube videos for all the best mods, installing all of them, and then as soon as I go to launch the game, I'm just like, I don't want to play it anymore.
This becomes even more painful when Bethesda gets a funny little thought in their head to release an update that has a 50-50 chance of burning all your hard work to the ground. Now, based on what I've been told, you could use Bethesda's own modding system to prevent this, but seriously, who other than console players uses Bethesda's mod hub? Like, really? Regardless, I still believe modding Skyrim is the best way to play the game and really allows Skyrim to shine. Just be sure to carve out a good chunk of your time to deal with all the shit that comes with modding the game.
No doubt, he thought it was the only way to make his point.
I had a lot of difficulties writing a conclusion for this video because despite a lot of my criticisms of the game, I still enjoyed my time streaming it and playing it off camera. Like, something about this game just sucks you in and kept me playing for countless hours. Sure, it's a poorly designed RPG with a mediocre main story and terrible combat. However, it's also a game with some fun side quests, incredible DLCs, and a fantastic modding community that's kept this game alive well over a decade after its release. I guess what I'm trying to say is Skyrim is a poorly made game, but it's a poorly made game that's still fun and provides a good entry point into the RPG genre that I will continue to play with mods well after this video's out. And that's all I got to say. So there you have it, gamers. I finally finished Skyrim. And not only did I grow a new appreciation for the game, I actually enjoyed my time with it. And if you enjoyed your time with this video, why not consider dropping a like, subscribing, and let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on Skyrim, or just like a funny moment you had in the game. Anywho, I've been Resuraptor, and I will see you guys next time when we take a trip down to Old Yarnum to talk about one of my favorite PS4 titles. I've been Resuraptor. I will see you guys next time. Peace.